everyone, today I'm going to talk about mental illness and mental health in young adult books. I think mental illness is a fairly common theme in YA. I see it a lot in almost every book I read now. It seems like some character has some form of mental illness. Statistically, 20% of adolescents have a mental illness. I mean, that's a pretty large portion of that demographic, and I think we as a society have really gotten better at talking about mental illness and kind of not demonizing it as much, or it's not as like taboo, because I know a lot of people, they don't want to talk about someone who has a mental illness, and you're just supposed to kind of carry on with your life and just get over it. A lot of people still assume that you can just choose to be happy if you have depression, or choose to not be anxious if you have anxiety. And I think we've gotten better at talking about it, but still, we have a long way to go. So 20% of adolescents is a lot, and I believe that these people should have an opportunity to read about people who are going through the same kind of things they are. It's similar to the LGBTQ plus diversity video and the racial diversity video. It's a certain demographic, or it's something that people have to deal with, and it's nice to read about people who are going through the same things because you feel not as alone. And sometimes books like these can help people cope. So I have a list of quite a few books that deal with mental illness. Some I've read, some I haven't, and I think most of these have a different mental illness associated with them. I tried to get a variety. The first one I'm going to recommend is It's Kind of a Funny Story by Ned Vizzini. This is about a boy who has, I think, depression, and he has to go and stay at a mental hospital, and he meets some other people there and makes some friends. And it is kind of a funny story, even though it's dealing with depression. It's really funny, and he's a really interesting main character. The next one is All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. This is a very controversial book. This is about a guy and a girl who meet just as the guy is about to commit suicide, and the girl stops him from doing that. And a lot of people say that this is their favorite book, and it's a very accurate depiction of depression and mental illness, and everyone should read it. And then other people say that these characters are just embodiments of mental illness, and that's all there is about them, and it's not accurate at all, and it's really kind of mean to people with mental illness. So if you want to read it, if it sounds interesting to you, go for it, but very polarizing. The next one is Crier's Cross by Lisa McMahon. This is actually more of a horror book, but the main character does have OCD, and I can't remember ever reading about someone with OCD before, and I didn't love the book as a whole, but I thought the OCD aspect was really interesting, and some people say it's fairly accurate, so I thought I'd put it on this list. The next one is Crazy by Amy Reed. This is about a girl who has bipolar disorder. Again, I can't remember having ever read a book about someone with bipolar disorder, and someone in my family does have bipolar disorder, so I'm interested to read this and see if it's accurate or not. The next one is The Impossible Knife of Memory by Laurie Halse Anderson. In this book, the protagonist does not have a mental illness, but her father does. I believe her father was in the army or military of some sort, and he comes back and he has post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's about him dealing with it and his daughter dealing with him having this, and kind of watching him as he tries to deal with it. This was really popular when it first came out. I'm surprised I haven't read it yet, but it's definitely on my soon-to-read list. Another one is Winter Girls, also by Laurie Halse Anderson. This one's a little different. It's about a girl who has an eating disorder, and I am putting that on this list because technically eating disorders are mental illnesses. They're not physical because it happens inside your brain. So I put it on this list. It's a fantastic book. Pretty much everything by Laurie Halse Anderson deals with some sort of heavy issue like this, and highly recommend it. Really wonderful book, and she's a wonderful writer as well. The next one is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. This is about a girl named Kath and her twin sister, and they're going to college, but Kath's twin tells her that she does not want to live with Kath in college. She wants to find new friends, and so Kath is forced to do the same, but she finds it very difficult because she has anxiety and social anxiety, and this makes it very difficult for her to make friends and kind of put herself out there as you're supposed to. And I mean, at the beginning of the book, she lives off of granola bars in her room for weeks because she doesn't know where the dining hall is, so she just sits in her room and eats granola bars because she doesn't want to go out and look for it and she doesn't want to ask anybody where it is, which is totally something I would have done freshman year if I had not had a roommate. The last one I'm going to recommend is Made You Up by Francesca Zappia. In this book, the protagonist has schizophrenia, and schizophrenia has always been kind of interesting to me because it's very broad, as I understand, and there are a lot of different things that go along with schizophrenia that depend on the person. And so I'm really interested in reading this book. Just to see how this particular protagonist deals with it. So those are the books I have here that deal with mental illness. I would love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Do you think that we as a society are getting better at talking about it? And I'd also like to know some of your favorite books about protagonists who deal with mental illness, because there are a lot of things to cover in this topic and I'm sure I didn't cover everything, but yeah. So thank you guys for watching and I will see you next time.